Okay, right. So I did question 21, but then somehow I lost it. Um, so I've worked through it. So I'm just going to walk through it again and pick up on the main points. But hopefully you've read the question before looking at this. You can see I've scribbled all over it. I've actually done this. But just because of time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this as I go along. So you're given the variable costs of making this thing. Um, and what you have here is so these are your material costs, and you have some production overheads. You have a fixed overhead given to you that's been absorbed individually. Um, and then you're given your variable, sort of you're given some selling, distribution, and admin. So we want to be careful of that. We're not absorbing this into the product, but we need to account for it. And then you have your fixed costs as well. So you can see I've scribbled because I've been writing on this, and then somehow my video just disappeared. So let's jump in and walk from there. So first of all, you're asked to deal with this using marginal costing. And so with marginal costing, the question is very clear that you sold 7,000 items. You produced 8,500, but here it is. So you sold 7,000 items for 140. And that's your answer, 980,000. In terms of production, well, you produced 8,500. Remember, we're using marginal costing. So with marginal costing, we're interested just in these variable costs here. That's what we're interested. So that's that over there. And that's what gives you that 49. Yeah, and that's what gives you the 49. I'm not interested in the fixed. This is a period cost. So we need to work that out later on. We'll do that when we get there. So you have your production of 8,500 times 49. And of course, if you sold 7,000 and you produced 8,500, it means that you had a closing inventory of 1,500. So you have your 1,500 at 49 as well over here. So I'm going to take this away, of course, from here to get my 343,000. So I now have my sales minus the 343, and I have this amount. Now, the question tells us that you have variable selling costs, which are 20%. Question tells us 20% of the sales value, and your sales value was 980,000. So 20% of 980 gives you 196. All right, so you have 637,000 minus the 196,000. That's what you have. So and so what you now have in effect is that we can calculate what your contribution is. So we know you have 980,000 minus the cost of sales, giving you your 637 minus this variable selling cost, and you now have your contribution of 441,000. Let's just walk across and do the same thing here. Here you're selling 8,000 units. You sell 8,000 units at £140, and that's why you have this, right? Then, of course, you have your opening, because your closing inventory of this becomes the opening inventory of the next period, right? So you have the 73,500 becoming the opening inventory here. So you have opening inventory. The question says you only make 7,000 units this time because you obviously have opening inventory to plug in from. So you have that times the 49, and so that's your production. So opening inventory plus this, of course, and if you started at 1,500 and you produced 7,000. If you sold 8,000, it means your closing inventory is 500, right? So your closing inventory is 500, and that's that. This thing here is the 500 times 49, right? That's how you get your. So in effect, we've got our cost of sales again, if you want to call it that, and then we know that our variable selling cost is 20% of sales. So that's 20% of this figure, which is what this 224 is. So let's go. So we have 1.12 million minus the sort of variable cost, giving you the 728, and then take off the variable selling costs, and you now have your contribution. So we're at contribution. So and that's really the same thing. The same thing is happening in 1 year, from 1 year to the next. Now, what I've done here is a kind of, I think I was trying to explain it from here. So we know, right, that the question says that, remember, fixed costs are not variable. They're just not variable. But this thing you've done here is sort of We're not interested as far as marginal costing is concerned, because as far as marginal costing is concerned, these are period costs. So if you say you have £20 per unit, we just look, well, what are the total number of units you're producing? And that's the total number of units you're producing, 85 plus 7,000, which is 15,500. Multiply that. I mean, you're assigning £20 per unit. You're doing 15,500. So therefore, 20 times 15,500 is equal to 310,000. So from a marginal costing point of view, there is no allocation based on units. We just literally split that into two based on each year. And based on each period, because it says this is 6 months, this is 6 months. And that's just simply 155 and 155 from a marginal costing point of view, right? That's it. And remember, your selling costs were 180,000. So split those as well. And there is your total your total period costs added together here, and then you can take that away from the 441 to get your profit. Do exactly the same thing here. Add those together, take that from the 504. Add those together, gives you that, take that, and you have 255. So that's your profit under absorption cost. Sorry, under marginal costing. That's the first thing. Now, I'm doing exactly the same thing, but this time I'm taking in the full cost of 69, because remember, I am absorbing the fixed production overheads with absorption costing. That's the whole point. So I have 69, and that's what I work with throughout. So I have these two are the same, exactly the same process. 8,500 as 69. You have 586,500. Then my closing inventory, of course, is 1,500, just repeating from the other one at 69. And that's 103,500. So I subtract the two and I get my cost of sale. I now subtract this 483 from the sales to get my kind of profit, if you like. You want to call it that. But just one more thing before we carry on. Let me do this side as well. So that's this time you're 8,000 times 140, you're there. And then you have opening inventory coming in from here. Of course, that's your closing inventory. That's your opening inventory. You now have 7,000 units that you're producing at 69. That's why it's in blue, 483. Add these two things together, and then you have 586. Your closing inventory, of course, is 500 units just from the previous units, because you started with 1,500, produced 7,000, sold 8,000. So if you sold 8,000, it means you have 500 left. So you have 500 left at 69 pounds. 500 left at 69 pounds. So you have opening inventory plus production, if you like, less closing inventory, giving you this 552. So now you can take this away from the 1120 to get your profit, if you like. Now let's just focus a little here with what's going on here. In absorption costing, you are saying, remember that the real actual cost is 155 each period, because that's just what happens. It's not variable. You have a total cost of 310 over the year. Divide that by 2 is 155. Now, what do? You're putting £20 for every unit you produce, which means that when you produced in the first 6 months 8,500 units, you put into your accounting 120 times 8,500. You put into your accounting 170,000. So if you put into your accounting 170,000, you should have only put in 155. You put in 15 too much. You put in 15 too much. So 15 too much has hurt your profits because this is a cost. So I need to add 15 to bring it up back to what it should be. And if you add the 15, right, then you get 512,000. In this side, though, in the next half, you produce 7,000 units. You put each one at £20. So currently, your system has 140,000. That's 15 short of what it really should be, what that cost should be. That cost should be 155, right? We've calculated that. 310 divided by 2, 155. So what you need to do is you need to increase your costs. So you need to add on an extra cost to your, or well, technically, when I say add on another cost, you can take that away from your profits, which is what we're doing over here. So you can take that cost away from your profits, because when you add that cost, it hits your profits, and you have 553 over there. So We just apply again the 20% of the yearly revenue. So 20% of the 980, 20% of this, and 20% of this will give us these values, 196 and 224. The fixed cost of 90 are the same, and add these two together here, which is why we have the 286. Add these two together, which is why you have the 314, and then you can now subtract this the selling costs from your gross profit to get your real profit. Do exactly the same thing. And then, of course, the question just wants us to do again, compare the two. So using my marginal costing profits, 196 and 259. Yes, there they are, coming here, 196, 259, coming through here. And that's the 226 and 239 here. And the difference, of course, is always going to be the change in inventory. So the change in inventory in the first 6 months, you had nothing, then you go to 1,500. So here, you can see your absorption profits are higher anyway. So that's 1,500 at £20, and that's 30,000. You can see why. And in this period, you go from 1,500 all the way down to 500. So you have £1,000 unit difference in closing inventory. 1,000 times 20 is 20,000, and that's why you see that fall in inventory. The point is, I've reiterated it in my earlier videos, this is simply about, is the closing inventory capturing, or with absorption costing, closing inventory captures fixed overheads. And if you don't sell the stock, it just moves into the next period. So it's about whether or not you're enabling costs to go through that period. With marginal costing, all the period costs go through. So the fluctuation really lies with the fixed overheads. Sorry, with the absorption costing. Which is why we put through those absorption adjustments, like the 15 over here. Super, great stuff. Yeah, cool, great. Hope that helps. Yeah, and yeah, that's actually a much shorter video. My initial video was 26 minutes. I might find it, but it's lost for now. But hopefully this summarizes the key points there. Okay.